Hey out there, this is January 20th, 2017, and it's just about exactly 10:30 in the morning here in Northern California. It's Trump's inauguration day, big day, and I got to admit that I'm pretty relieved to at least to know at this point in time, as far as I know, that he's okay, and the establishmentarians haven't murdered him. Um, this is good. This is very good. And I think it's important to let people know right away where I'm coming from. And where I'm coming from in this whole thing is strictly biblically based. And, the idea that, things really might be turning around for humanity is something to be celebrated. And even if they do kill Trump, they can't stop what's happening here. We've heard it said that history is cyclical and, it repeats itself, right? But really, the truth is, while there may be similarities, commonalities in history, history is linear. And what I mean by that is that it's never quite the same, and that it's a one-way trip, and it's a constant, linear, and knowledge, accurate information expands, it grows like a snowball effect. It can't be stopped. And we had a huge leap in information, knowledge going forth through the computer age that we're in, the internet age, and all the information about these elitists, these overlords, these dark souls out there at the very top of things has come out. It's come out into the light. People all know. And it's very traumatizing for people when you realize that like that show They Live, that these people are exposed, they're everywhere. And they're not all deliberate evildoers, but there's so many people intermingled that we don't know, because there's people that are unwittingly evil everywhere, and people are figuring that out. And it's not as easy to say, well, it's the communists that are all evil, or it's the capitalists that are all evil. It's not so simple. It's not so simple to say it's the conservatives or the liberals. No, it doesn't work that way. It's much deeper and profound. And we all have to make our own personal individual search to find the truth. And yet, collectively, we're moving forward. The forces for good are moving forward. But they can't condemn the forces of evil because they don't have that jurisdiction. That's only up to God. And thank God it is, because who wants to be out there judging and condemning one another for every little thing? No, what we want to do is come together and be God's servant. That's the highest calling. That's the best thing, the most important thing any of us can ever do, is just to give a damn and to work for the greatest good, not the greater good, as these elitists want to tell us. Well, it's for the greater good, this climate change agenda where we've got to impoverish the masses and for the greater good, right, to save the planet. So this is where the genocide is justified, right? And it's happening right under our noses with exploding poverty and all these problems that really do cause genocide. They're killing people right under our noses is what's happening. Recently, as you know, I posted a video about this homeless encampment. Well, things have really fallen apart for these poor people. Everybody's pulling their support, and they're on their own. They don't have running water out there anymore. The porta potty's been taken away. This is the latest thing. It made it to the mainstream news here locally in Chico. And I went by this place called the Jesus Center, where they offer a couple of meals a day. You can get a shower. And, there's some assistance. You can get on a computer. And, so they do what they can. I support the place myself. I believe in the cause. Nothing can stop me from doing what I can to alleviate my conscience. My conscience is assaulted. It's offended by these problems. And so I'm compelled, utterly compelled, to go out and do something to help end this thing. Even if things are going to get worse, much worse. I don't know what's going to happen. Because if Trump is going after poverty, he's going after the heart of the beast. And I know I'm digressing, but it's all interconnected, believe me. talking about these elitists and how they're being exposed. But this is it. This is, if Trump is for real, and the reason I voted for Trump may be unique because I haven't heard a lot of people, repeating what I'm going to say. But it was when he said that he wanted to end poverty in America. This is the best thing we could do, not just for America, but for the rest of the world. When Trump said he's ashamed of homelessness, I said, that's it, man. I'm down. I believe this guy. You got to believe somebody. Maybe I'm being deceived. Maybe he's going to, he wants to end homelessness by putting all these people in a concentration camp. I don't know what's going to happen here. But I know one way or another, God's will is going to be accomplished on earth. And when it is, it's going to be dramatically different from how it is now. This is going to be a time when, we're going to start really understanding freedom, okay? This is what it comes down to. It comes down to universal freedom. And it's universal freedom through universal understanding, through universal prosperity, through a universal understanding that this planet belongs to God and we are all God's children. And if we divided this planet, the net worth of this planet, by 7 billion, okay, that means every single individual is wealthy while we're passing through. Because there is no ownership, there's no permanence, right? We're all just mortal beings passing through. It's all usership, in other words. So, however radical and liberal the things I'm saying are, really, at the end of the day, if you want to bring it into nuts and bolts of government, and how we operate, it's actually very fiscally prudent and conservative. Let me explain that. It's a difference between renting and buying. It's a difference between driving your car with a big hole in the fuel tank and saying, well, I don't care. It's easier just to keep filling it with fuel. Somebody else is paying for it. And I know the problem's getting worse. The hole's getting bigger. So, one way or another, it's going to break. I don't care because I'm not paying for it, okay? This is the prevailing attitude so many people have in society. They don't understand. They don't understand that they don't want to face reality, a lot of people, because it's antithetical to their welfare, their either perceived or genuine welfare, okay? That their job revolves around the problem, okay? So often this is the case. The vast majority of jobs in America, at least America, let's say, let's talk on a microcosm here, revolve around the problems persisting, being sustained, and hopefully proliferating, because that's job security for a lot of people. Well, let's start with the crime industrial complex, okay? Because crime would plummet overnight if you simply ended poverty. And it'd be dramatically cheaper, okay? So it'd be very fiscally conservative and prudent to just end poverty, because it costs over $50,000 a year to keep one prisoner in jail for a year, where they get treated with 3 hots and a cot, and they get medical care, and as far as I know, they can get some education there, some training. So they're afforded all these privileges that a poor bastard out there on the street, okay, he's got nothing. Understand what we're talking about here, okay, is that they're treated lower than the animals. Animals are allowed to live in the wild, okay? Human beings are not. Do you understand? What I'm saying is not wild-eyed. It's not crazy. That actually, maybe just because I'm saying stuff you don't hear anybody else say, that it's the truth, it's the way it is, okay? That this is madness. This is sheer and utter madness. This is the manifestation of the policies, the programs that these elitists put into place. And they get us all divided. They get us at each other's throats over petty little things. But really, at the end of the day, if we all knew, if we could have a glimpse of reality for any appreciable amount of time, we'd latch onto it. Everything would fall into place. People where I have disagreements, I say, they don't get it here. They're smarter than me. And, that they just don't get this one point, that I'm trying to make. Don't blame, wage adjustments, for example. When you say, well, he needs more wages. Why does he need more wages? I mean, he's just a spoiled brat. He wants more and more. He's greedy. Because he's just unskilled labor. I mean, he's expendable, a dime a dozen. I mean, learn to do something and raise your standard of living, right? Isn't that the prevailing attitude in society? And I'm saying, look, if the job's important, it's important. Why don't you focus on all those jobs that revolve around the problem persisting? So now I've talked about the crime industrial complex. Remember, that's all the lawyers out there. That's all the jailers. That's all people working in the court system to one capacity or another. Okay, all these people, all these clerks, all these departments, okay, of law enforcement would be, while a lot of they're very important right now, they will be rendered useless. I think a job like the Highway Patrol, well, that will be more important for a longer period of time, as long as people are driving recklessly. And, even if we solve all our social ills, we're going to have some problems, probably drunk driving. So, the point I'm trying to make is there's a lot of industries that revolve around the problem. Now let's talk about the dubious warfare industrial complex. I mean, how can anybody be overly passionate about this issue alone? The insanity, the cruelty of starting wars for control, for profit, okay, where children, innocent women and children, innocent people are being maimed and killed. We've got 22 veterans a day approximately coming home and taking their own lives. What is going on here? Okay, need I overstate the implications of poverty, of being controlled by these money-based monsters? Okay, that's who they are. They're controlling our reality from birth by telling us you have a cost of living, instead of saying, look, 1/7 billionth of this planet rightfully belongs to you as your inheritance from God. So when you go out and serve your fellow man, you do it of your own free will and accord. You're exercising your talents. You're abiding by your conscience when you serve your fellow man. And it's not like work would be hard. By today's standard, with all the state-of-the-art tools, the industrialization, we'd be lucky if we got a 2 or 3 hour work week if we're all doing productive jobs out there. This is what I'm trying to get across to people. So what am I saying? That we all have to find something to do with our time. It's not your job to entertain me. It's not my job to entertain you. We've got to set everybody free and say, look, it's up to you to do what you want to do at any given time. Okay, that's it. Well, there's a lot of jobs that are important. The social welfare industry is another one of these businesses. Well, it's very important right now. Okay, maybe they could take away Section 8 completely. That might be good. That might be like ripping off a Band-Aid and just show you how bad it's gotten. Well, we've got more extra housing in this country than ever before in history. More surplus vacant housing for sale or for rent, not including hotels and motels. We could house every homeless man, woman, and child in America and still have 90% of the vacant available housing left over. I've done the research on my own. I know these facts to be true. So, understand that this is an example of a hole in your fuel tank somebody else is paying for. It'd be infinitely cheaper to take that Section 8 money, at least split half of it, say, sorry, we're kicking all you out of your rental housing. Now we're going to buy housing, okay? There's a light at the end of the tunnel. Do you understand? That hole in your gas tank, you said, no, I'm going to put some of this money that I'm being given into fixing the hole. And I can't worry about what it does to my job down the road. I've got to do this because this is the right thing to do. This is abiding by your conscience. This is the only way you're going to be free. You're ever going to find true happiness is by pleasing the one and only God, the giver of happiness. Okay, that's it. We cannot ignore our conscience. We cannot neglect it. The other day I went and hung out at the Jesus Center in the rain, the freezing cold rain in the morning with these people. And the Jesus Center had built these canopies for people to stand under. It was like standing at some cold, dank bus stop. These people are going to be there all day. They're going to be there just hanging out. Across the street they were hanging out in the rain with all their possessions in carts and just carrying stuff, whatever they can do, okay, to be able to keep a few things. Okay, these are your brothers and sisters. A lot of these are Native American-born citizens. Okay, a lot of these are veterans. And I'm offended at this. I'm offended at the fact that this is a growing problem. Under Obama's administration, homelessness has grown. He talks about how he's created jobs. This is where people got to understand, look, creating jobs is not going to fix the problem unless we have sound economic policies that are going to create a rising tide of prosperity across the board, that are actually going to fix our problems through sound money, through the increasing worth of your currency. That's what happens. That's what's supposed to happen. That's progress. Okay, you cannot have a diminished worth of currency in perpetuity and not expect problems. This can't go on. Just say, well, let's just raise our numbers. Let's have good paying jobs with high numbers. And while that's good for a few, it hurts others. I mean, it can't be that way. If the overall problem is not being solved, the overall problem's not being solved. Okay? And another industry, what about the debt industrial complex? Purportedly, some 25% of Americans are employed in the debt industrial complex. All these jobs I've mentioned would disappear. That is the vast majority of jobs being done in our country